Party walls. A dull, boring piece of legislation that only building surveyors generally work on? Or is it actually an interesting element of law that may affect homeowners throughout the country and something that perhaps you need to know about? I'm going to do a short series of different elements of the Party Wall Act to look into various elements of the legislation and how it can affect homeowners, building surveyors, contractors and the like. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day you're watching this. I've been asked to look at the Party Wall Act by a couple of people and provide some just general background information on how it works, how it applies to the kind of projects you're dealing with. But the more I got thinking about it, initially I thought, oh, it'll be a 10-minute video, it'll be fine, we'll wrap that up. But the more you start looking at it, like most legislation, the more you kind of realise actually that there's quite a few elements to the Party Wall Etc. Act that when you're dealing with it most days, like we do as building surveyors, it's relatively clear, relatively straightforward. But then when you start breaking it down to describe different elements of it to people, it can get quite complicated. So I'm going to produce a video or two. Probably won't get it all done in one, but we shall see. We'll decide that at the end. I'm going to look at the general legislation. What is a party wall? What does the Etc. Act refer to? Because it's the Party Wall Etc. Act. So why is there an etc. there? We're going to look at who is an owner, who is a surveyor, who can act as a surveyor. Likewise of owners, do you actually need to be the freeholder or the owner of the land to undertake the work? When do you need to serve a notice? What kind of notice do you need to serve? What's the lead-in time for those notices? Because they vary. What if the notices are incorrect? What if you serve them yourself and they're wrong? We'll look at how disputes are settled, how long the whole thing takes, what's in a Party Wall award, why is it an award and not just a document or a letter or anything like that? Do you have any rights to anyone else's land? Lots of different elements of the Act to look at. It's contained within the Party Wall Etc. Act of 1996, which came into effect, I think it was April 1997. Doesn't matter, a long time ago. I was much younger then, much slimmer than I am now. So that's 26, 27 years ago. So the legislation's been around for a good few years now, certainly over a quarter of a century. And this replaced the old act that was pretty much just for London, the London Party Wall Act, I think it was. Okay, so we're going to kick off part one just by looking at what is a party wall. For most people, a party wall is a wall that separates two properties. Okay, could be that straightforward, but it does actually get a bit more involved than that. So I'll produce some sketches. So these are described in the Party Wall Act, but I'll put them in the sketches so you can actually see what the difference is between the different walls. So this first one, it's a brick wall built between two owners and the boundary is offset to one side of it. That is not a party wall. That is what we call a boundary wall. This is, again, a garden wall built between two owners, but the party line or the boundary line is down the centre of the wall. This becomes a party fence wall. So both owners, the actual wall is in the ownership of both people, whereas our first wall, the whole of the wall is in the ownership of just one person. Foundations are slightly different, so it's where the wall is, not necessarily the foundations. So next we're actually on to buildings. So here on owner's one side, it's a garden, and owner two is inside a property, so got a basic floor and a roof there. And the boundary line sits somewhere within the wall construction. So this is a party wall type A. We've also got a variation on this where both buildings enclose upon the party wall. Again, the boundary line is down the centre of the wall. So this is also a party wall, and this is a type A as well. Now there are variations to these when the boundary line isn't particularly in the centre of the wall. So if we consider what we originally considered a boundary wall, but now both sides are being enclosed. So owner two was the original owner, but at some point owner one's enclosed upon that. This becomes a party wall type B. And as we rise up through the property, owner two again was perhaps the original owner, but owner one has enclosed upon the wall, but only part way up. So maybe a single story on owner one side and a two-story on owner's two side. This is a type B party wall, but only the area that's hatched. So above it isn't considered a party wall because owner 1 doesn't take any loadings or structural dependency on that section of wall. And then when we look at these on plan, so when we've got an offset boundary line, so again, owner 2 would have been the original owner of the wall and owner 1 has since enclosed upon it. So the boundary wall, sorry, the party wall is between the two ownerships. This is because the front wall, let's assume the front of the property is at the bottom of the page and the rear wall is at the top of the page, is in line with both properties. Where it's offset, it's a bit more like this. So again, owner 2 would have been the original building owner that built the wall. It's been enclosed upon by owner 1, but owner 1's building is set back to the front and the rear. So it's only where it is enclosed upon that is considered a party wall. Again, it's a type B party wall. So the very first thing that a building surveyor must do, or a surveyor or anybody dealing with party walls, is establish where the boundary line is and what kind of party wall we're talking about, because it's going to vary and it depends as to where those boundary lines are and what kind of wall it is as to what you can do with it. But the other element of this is the etc. element. It's not the Party Wall Act, it's the Party Wall Etc. Act. And that etc. is references party structures and it references adjoining excavations. Now, I'm not going to touch on adjoining excavations today at all. I'm going to do that on a video of its own because that might be something someone would like to watch on their own if they're doing an extension that's near someone else's house, but it doesn't actually touch someone else's house. So the etc. refers to party structures. Now, if you consider yourself perhaps in a flat, so let's picture a row of terrace houses, all 3 stories high, ground first and second, and they've all been subdivided into flats or built new as flats. Then if you're in the first floor of the middle of that building, you're going to have a party wall both sides, but then you're going to have a party structure above and below you as well. So your floor is a party structure with a flat below, and your ceiling is a party structure from the flat above. Setting aside plasterboard ceiling finishes and floorboards, the structure will be the party structure element. So that's why there's an etc. within the Act. So the party wall, fairly straightforward, it's party walls, etc. then adjoining excavations and party structures. So it really does depend as to what you're dealing with, whether it's a party structure, whether it's a adjoining excavation, or whether it's a party wall, as to what you can and can't do. And it's quite clear, I think, just in this video, I think I'm at 6 or 7 minutes long now, that it's going to be more than 1 or 2 videos. So I'll do another one on serving notices, one on awards, one on schedules of condition, one on settlement of disputes and who does what and what all the people are. So together as a series, I don't know how long it's going to be, whether it's going to be 4 or 5. I'll try and keep each one less than 10 minutes. But as a little series, hopefully I'll give you an idea as to what the Party Wall Etc. Act is, what it covers and what you can and can't do, and the procedures you've got to go through with the Act, because it's very much a procedure-driven piece of legislation. There are time limits on virtually everything right the way through. From the day you serve that initial notice, you've got to start work within a year, but you can't start work within a month or 2 months, depending on what work you're doing. So thank you for getting this far. I really appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be bloody marvellous. And I shall see you on the next one, which hopefully will be part 2. Thank you very much.